I'm Jeremiah Prophet.
And I'm Chandra Prophet, and welcome to another episode of
Prophet's Resurrection TV! So Chandra's off busily working, so I brought my beautiful co-host Lily to help with this episode, and we're going to feature Gumby, this super cool 1973 FJ40 right behind us. So this FJ40 is rather unique, not because of the features that are on it, but because of the circumstances by which it was built. This is our first sort of after-hours volunteer project by the guys in the shop. We decided to do it over last winter and then actually offer it up for sale so that the guys in the shop could earn a little extra money. Altogether, about 600 hours were invested after hours, and then we had some shop time right at the end to get it finished up for the wheeling trip that you're gonna get to see a little bit later in this video. And so that's how this FJ40 came to be. Now I mentioned that it was going to be for sale, and it was. But around here things don't last very long, so maybe 15 minutes after it was finished, a client showed up to look at one of his other projects, and he actually ended up buying it on the spot, and so it isn't any longer for sale. Sorry about that. So I know you guys get to see me all the time, so I'm gonna turn this over to Lily, and she's gonna tell you about this FJ40.
The vision for this vehicle is a super cool off-road FJ40. By that I mean it's a stage 3 restoration with lots of off-road accessories. We'll start at the front and work to the back. Up front, we have a PRLC front bumper. This bumper comes complete with a worn winch and rigid light bars. For the engine, we chose a Toyota 3FE. Behind the 3FE, we used a Toyota 5-speed transmission. Behind the transmission, we used a split case with low gears. The axles are from an FJ60. We loaded them with 488 gears and ARB locking differentials. To light the vehicle up at night, the guys installed rigid lights in the cage. To complete the off-road look, the guys installed a dual swing-out rear bumper.
So earlier I said this was a unique build because it was going to be for sale. There's a couple of other unique things about it that are different than what we normally do. For starters, this is an Aqualu aluminum tub. We don't use them very often because a lot of our restorations have to be very close to stock, as you guys know. But you can't argue with the quality of an Aqualu tub, and if you're building something that's already modified, or any kind of resto mod where the sort of Toyota DNA is being compromised anyway, an Aqualu is a really good choice. This Aqualu tub uses their storage tailgate, which is pretty cool. You can see we've sprayed it with 2-part polyurea spray liner, but you can keep non-rattly things, winch ropes, straps, things like that. Peanut butter sandwiches right in the tailgate. Thanks to the guys at Aqualu for giving us this tailgate for free for this build. They're super cool guys. You can see that we've brought the C-hoop of our full roll cage down to the top of the tub and integrated the speaker mounts right into the Aqualu corners the way they come from the factory. Another unique thing about this vehicle is our choice in colors. So we went with a satin green. This is kind of like nebula green, but it's not nebula green. And then 2 or 3 shades darker accent green, but in gloss. So you can see that the gloss bumpers and roll cage contrast just a little bit, but look pretty cool next to the satin nebula-like green. You can also see we chose a 3rd accent color in a metallic, where the face of the metallic matches the paint color and the flop is slightly darker. I'm starting to really like this metallic accent color on FJ40s. You might recognize the dashboard of this FJ40 as being very typical with most of our builds. You've got Dakota digital gauges, and a retro stereo, and of course our ashtray switch panel with the controls for the lockers. And very soon, for the new owner, we'll be adding vintage Gen 4 air conditioning. So I want to talk a little bit about the steering and the suspension choice we did for this. I said it had FJ60 axles, and they're wider. We chose them because of the off-road stability that they're going to afford, plus they have disc brakes and a stronger ring and pinion and all kinds of cool stuff. But to get FJ60 axles under an FJ40, you have to do something to get the springs out wider. What we do is called a PRLC shackle reversal FJ60 outboard kit. And also I want to talk about the steering. So we're going more and more with FJ60 power steering, and that is because it's all Toyota DNA and it eliminates the center arm, and it's just a superior steering system to what FJ40s with power steering would have had. When we can't use the power steering is when we're trying to put in a different engine, because the FJ60 power steering box is right in the way of a bigger radiator, and you saw my stop it about using small radiators for VA. So you can see that we've integrated the bumper mount into the shackle mount, and the shackle mount is outboard of the frame, about 1.5 inches more than it usually would be. This setup uses the FJ60 spring purchase. At the rear of the front spring, we've installed an outboard bracket and attached the factory shackle hanger in place. All in all, even though it was a different kind of a build for us, the guys had a great time building it, and we even had a great time wheeling it one short time, and I'm very thankful that it's found a great new home in Texas. You know, we love these cars. In fact, we love all vehicles, and so every once in a while we see something that just shouldn't have been done, and that's why we like to say, stop it. Stop it! Stop it! So today we're going to do a double stop it, plus I'm going to introduce a 3D part that's just available. So you've seen this cruiser before. You could film an entire month's worth of stop-its with this Land Cruiser alone. But the stop-it I'm talking about, at least this first one, is, and I think I've done this already, but it's worth saying again, stop hacking out your stereo opening, for crying out loud. Look at this thing. I think somebody beat this stereo hole open. I think somebody beat this stereo hole open with a hot dog and a slide hammer. Anyway, the fix for this is to strip the dash, cut this out, weld in a factory replica opening, which we make. But that's not within the scope of what we're trying to do to this Land Cruiser. Sometimes repainting the whole dash means you have to repaint the whole car. As a matter of fact, that's what it would mean in this case. So we have this pretty nifty 3D printed retro stereo mount that's going to cover almost the most unsightly, horrible, terrible hole that people have cut. And then the edges of this are going to be covered by the factory dash pads, which kind of fit. These aren't factory, they're replicas, and they're not bad. But anyway, when this is all installed, at least we're gonna have a reasonable looking retro stereo mount, which is a heck of a lot better than looking at that. So stop it. This was a shackle on this car. A very extended shackle. That's probably 9 inches or something like that. This was on the front of this vehicle. A shackle this big on the front of a car is going to make it drive worse than anything you could ever possibly imagine, because you're going to take your caster angle and you're going to force it down to the ground, and the wheels are going to want to turn left and right by themselves, and you're never going to be able to keep it on the road, and you're going to swerve and you're going to die. So stop it with the extended shackles. They're not a way to lift a vehicle. You can't do it. On the rear, you could get away with one maybe as long as 6 inches center to center. Anything more than that, you can't get away with it. On the front, really, any extended shackle at all is going to make it drive worse than it did from the factory. So stop this too. Stop it! Stop it! For a bunch of guys that build Land Cruisers for a living, we sure don't get to wheel very often. Normally, only about once a year do we get to hit the trails, and usually that's at Cruise Moab. Luckily, this new FJ40 that we built was just enough motivation to get some of the guys out for a trip in the high country.
So tell me what trail we're on.
We're on Corkscrew, I believe, on our way to Silverton.
And what was the purpose of today's trip?
Camaraderie. appreciated, important, and those who could go were glad they came.
The weather can come quickly in the mountains, and our beautiful day ended up with a soggy mess. All in all, though, it was still lots of fun, and we built some memories driving Land Cruisers as a team.
Look at that seat, it actually holds water.
Did you come in the semi over here?
No.
The lady here said the person in the semi doing a commercial.
Oh, yeah, I believe it.
Alright, I have a towel, honey, and I have this blanket, but I think I can keep it.
We gotta dry the seat off and I'll just jump in.
Want me to dry the seat? Well, you have to cut these close because as soon as I dry the seat off, it's going to be wet again in 3 seconds.
I'm videotaping you.
I have a Toyota Sunrider. Do you know what that is?
Yes, I sure do.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, Toyota's the way to go.
Alex is super jealous right now.
You sure you don't want to drive the wet car?
I'll drive it if you want to drive this. I probably could drive it.
This is why we didn't get to finish what I wanted to talk about in this episode. But I guess it's the way it is. I'm going to take this, put it in that, and drive it home. So you guys know we have an online store now, and we're selling used parts there, and also something we call PRLC solutions, which are new parts, little problems that we've solved. Lots of them are fabrications, including 3D printing. So this light right here is one of the hardest things to find. I mean, sometimes they were used under the dash on really early FJ40s, and I think up through 1972, some of them had them right here on the dash, and this little switch turned on and off the light, and it's just a little map light. Well, how cool are they? But they're missing lots of times. So we actually have a 3D printed replica version of that, and the switch knob itself. So if you want to install those on your older FJ40, you can get them on our online store.
That's a wrap.
She's discovered Gumby, a new generation of Gumby lovers.
I wish I could sing the song because I know the whole damn thing.
Make a Gumby voice. What kind of voice does Gumby have?
I don't know.
What would you imagine he would sound like?
Hi, my name's Gumby.
Pretty close.
That is. That was good.
Eddie. They're falling from the sky.
It's true. Now,
They're skydiving.
they're skydiving. Oh, I could turn the light on and I could turn the light off. On, off, on, off.